Welcome to Construction Champions Podcast, where we are burning the house down and rebuilding it twice a week. I'm your host, Nussbaum, and I am here to help you become the champion that you're meant to be. Along with our amazing guests along the way, we will provide you with the resources, the latest and greatest. You will sit down with disruptors in the construction industry. And my goal from day one has always been to change the mindset around the construction industry. No more where we let the 3% of bad apes dictate the entire reputation of our.
Tears me up. Our guest today is amazing, and I'm super excited to talk with him. Josh, it is great to have you here today.
Hey, Ron, thanks so much for having me. And you said you were going to bring the heat. You brought the heat. And I love all this talk about champions because, I talk to my team all the time about needing to just have a championship culture. So I love it. Love the premise of this podcast and appreciate being here today.
Awesome, man. Well, before we dive into it, why don't you take some time to tell all the champions out there a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, thanks so much. So, I'm Josh. I am the co-founder and CEO of a company called Document Crunch. Document Crunch really is a contract intelligence and automation platform purpose-built for the construction industry. I mean, at the highest level, we make construction contracts and other related documents super easy to understand, but we're also automating now certain jobs to be done around those issues, like reviewing a construction contract for risk or giving notice in accordance with the contract. So I'm happy to talk more about that, but that's what Document Crunch is doing. And we're a software company and we've been in business. We've been at this for a little over 5 years now. I've been the full-time CEO for a little over 3, but I'm not some cool tech guy from Silicon Valley. I actually come to this as a long-time industry guy. So I was a construction management major from the University of Florida. I grew up in the Florida area, decided to go to law school and spent my entire decade-plus career as a construction attorney. Started out in private practice for a big law firm that represents a lot of big general contractors and other kind of related stakeholders, but then went in-house, ended up rising up to leadership levels with a couple of legal departments of large contractors. And kind of in all of those collective experiences, Ron, I'm not crazy about technology, but what I am crazy about is this huge problem that construction contracts and compliance with construction contracts causes from our industry, from the back office all the way to the field. And at some point, I just had enough, right? I had enough of all of this fee erosion for lack of contract compliance. I had enough with money wasted on claims and consultants and lawyers. I had enough with bad projects derailing people's careers. I had enough with bad projects causing distraction for teams, depositions, arbitrations. And I had enough, candidly, seeing good companies in our industry, lose everything in litigation simply because they either didn't understand what they were signing up for or their teams weren't calling the right plays per the contract terms. And that's really why Document Crunch exists. And that's what we're here solving for every single day. So it's been a great run, man. Companies, growing really quickly. What it turns out is my mom would tell you what a smart boy I was and what a good idea I had with this company, but the industry has kind of validated it. And we're just really excited to be helping the industry. And again, I just want to double click on what you didn't hear me say is AI or anything like that. So yes, we are an AI first company. We've been doing this for 5 years. But I really couldn't give a rat's ass. I hope I could say that on this podcast.
Absolutely.
I really don't give a rat's ass about technology. What I damn well care about is making sure that our industry gets to a brighter future so that it's less risky around things like signing fair contracts and then administering or having teams understand what that contract says so that they could call the right plays in the field. I'll just play this out for you. You could have paid me $600-$700 an hour to negotiate a construction contract for you back in the day. Great. You don't get dinged if there's a rain event, right? You get compensated, get schedule relief. But guess what? While you did a good job paying me $600-$700 an hour to make sure that got in your contract, if the project team doesn't know to ask or doesn't know the right way to give notice or is scared, they're not sure that they have entitlement, you still could be holding the bag when it rains. And so again, I want to emphasize this isn't just about understanding what's in your contract before you sign it, but this is also about empowering those people in the field wearing hard hats every single day to make sure that they understand the deal that you signed them up for, and then to make sure that they're calling the right plays off of it. And that's what Document Crunch is doing. That's what we care about. We care about de-risking our industry and getting to a brighter future. So yeah, that's my story in a nutshell.
I love it, man. You gave me some chills there during that. Being one now software guy that could really not care about technology, but it's now what I do coming from the construction industry. I love it. And I love to have these conversations with people because this is what the construction industry needs. Is it needs people that understand the industry to develop the solutions and to just go out there and fix the pain points and just understand that's what has to happen. So I'm excited for today.
Well, if I may, I actually just recently had a eureka moment here. So, what that's called with the big money in Silicon Valley is founder market fit, right? I'm someone who understands the problem that I'm solving for. And so that's a good thing. You get a nice, shiny check mark for that. But here's what's really cool, Rod. Luckily, I've been able to build a team from top to bottom that has as much empathy from the industry or for the industry that I do. So what do I mean by that? My product and engineering team has been highly successful building product that's been very successfully used by our industry for a long time. I've got a sales team now made up of ex-project managers that lived with this pain and saw all the bad stuff that was happening. I've got an account management team that's been working with this industry its whole career, and then I've got a bunch of lawyers and other contracts professionals and other things on staff. So I guess my point is, I'm so happy that, 5 years ago, I understood the problem and that was good. I got a shiny check for having that fit, the understanding. But this whole company bleeds construction empathy. And that honestly is why we've been so successful. We're a team of over 50 people now. And the reason why we've created the buzz and the following that we have, the reason why the industry loves our product, I truly believe is because from top to bottom and across the entire Document Crunch company, we have a huge amount of empathy for the problems that we're solving for. Again, this is not about building cool technology. I don't care. This is about helping solve a huge problem for our industry. And that's what you get in working with Document Crunch. So I'm very proud that it's not just me. This isn't just a cult of my personality. This is a hell of a team, a dream team, if you will. I know we got Olympics going on right now. This is a dream team, if you will, of construction technologists and professionals that have come together, all very inspired around this problem. And that's why I believe our customers call it the Document Crunch experience. That's why I believe the Document Crunch experience exists, because of that empathy for our industry. I didn't just go to some graduate school and write a thesis that the construction industry needs more digitization and decide to cobble together a bunch of engineers that were building other stuff. Like, no, we all came from industry, man, and we all want to make this industry better. It's really important.
I love it, man. I really do. I absolutely love it. So let's dive right in there. I'm going to ask you the $1 million question, and that is, what makes a construction champion?
Is communication chaos holding your construction business back? Emails, texts, and generic tools weren't built for your business. BuilderComms delivers a platform built for construction. Fully branded, custom workflows, and seamless integration, all designed to fix communication for good. From our free forever plan to your own custom solution, we make construction software not suck. Ready to transform your business? Book your free strategy call today.
Yeah, that is an awesome question. It is $1 million question. Here's what I'm going to say, because I'm coming to this now, like I told you a little bit about my background. I'm now playing in my favorite cross-section of the industry. I've worked with a lot of construction companies, a lot of construction executives, and a lot of lawyers, a lot of project managers. But now I'm dabbling a lot in what I'm going to call the innovation layer of our industry, which, a lot of these stakeholders are still involved in, but it's frankly my favorite cross-section of the industry that I've worked in my 15 plus years in this industry. And I I get to speak around the country at conferences and stuff, and I talk a lot about this. Like, it's not enough to be talking and formulating theses on this stuff and to be, just a futurist and someone who's generally open to technology and adoption or progress of our industry. What makes a champion is someone who actually takes a leadership role in implementing. And what does that mean? Like, I'll just be straight up with you. Document Crunch, the product that we launched with 4 years ago, is light years behind where we're at today. And again, while my mommy would tell you how smart I am, and that's why the product has increased the way it has, that's actually not true. What's true is we had a hell of amount of good customers that started giving us real iterative feedback, that were open-minded enough to take the chance on an early stage company and give us feedback and allow us to improve. And so I guess my point is, what makes a champion is a partner. It's not just somebody who says, oh, I'm open to this. It's someone who's going to take the time to be radically candid and help define the solutions that they need by being a partner. So I think a lot about actions speaking louder than words. And I think that's where the rubber hits the road in our industry. You know, you go to these conferences and so many of these people, they attend the conference. And I say to them, like, so what? Like, congratulations, you got a ticket here and you get to spend a few days in a hotel and eating, you know, hors d'oeuvres and drinking bad wine and beer. But like, so what? Like, what are you going to do when you come out of here? And I think what our industry needs, we do need more champions, because there's so much untapped potential in this industry. It's not just around tech, but there's so much untapped potential in this industry. And it will take that championship mentality. And in my world, that means partnering to get us to a brighter future. You've got to be that feedback provider. And there's no chance. If you want to innovate in this industry, you have to be willing to roll up your sleeves and help iterate. And that's what being a champion means to me.
That's awesome, man. Because I think you're hitting a pain point in the industry that I have seen, I have felt, and that is everybody has an opinion, but they don't want to give it to the people that matter. Is like, you have the ability, I have the ability to be able to make adjustments and continue. I tell people all the time, like, my product, I no longer work in construction. It's up to our customers to continue to give us feedback, to continue to give us the direction that we need to go in. But for some reason, the construction industry, that can be hard. Guys don't necessarily want to give you that feedback. So yeah, that partnership you're talking about that's how we can come together and move the construction industry forward in every aspect. It doesn't matter if it's technology or in processes or locally, like partnering with people and having an understanding of how you can move the ball together is what's truly going to move the construction industry, and not being silent and just going about your day to day because you figure that's all I can control, when that's not 100% true.
That's exactly right. I couldn't agree more. That silence is the killer. And I think oftentimes that's kind of the point. People expect, like, building software or technology is the journey, and it takes just as much grit as being a success in anything in life. But here's the deal. Unlike, you know, creating a new hammer, what we're doing, we've created this out of thin air. So like, I had the proof of concept when we came to market, but the customers sharpened that proof of concept. And so if you really want to stimulate innovation, you've got to be a partner. And I think the cool thing is, you know, our customers, especially the early ones, would say that their fingerprints are all over the development of our product. Like, they're actually, like, literally invested almost in our success because we keep delivering solutions that help them and move them forward in their organizations. And that's a process. You don't just roll out overnight and create some magical solution that's going to solve all of the problems. It takes time and it takes an iterative process, but inherent iteration is you need a partner, and silence is not a partnership. Silence is just a one-way street. And so, yeah, that's a big deal.
Yeah. And I think back in all the time, when you talk about conferences, that's a fantastic subject, because people go to all these conferences, they get their high. Some people are addicted to going to conferences, but it never does anything. And it's the same thing, it's that silence. We hear all this great stuff, and then there's no action, there's no we just keep it kind of ourselves and move on, and we don't ever bring this stuff up and continue to try to push forward and create those ripples. Because I think as an industry, we don't want to be the oddball around. Like we don't want to be the one pushing the envelope, because that's hard. But we need to be. Everybody should be pushing the boundaries of what's possible. And then as a group, we all rise and continue to push that.
Look, I think that, and now you're seeing this whole AI era shuffle in. I think that our industry has so much more profitability to unlock. Like, and I think about what we're doing at Document Crunch, and I analogize it to, and this will be a good story of champions. It's not exactly the same, but it kind of reminds me of this concept that, 100 years ago, we accepted the premise that construction was inherently unsafe and that people were going to just get hurt on the job site. And then a couple of things happened, right? One, technology got to the point where maybe it became financially feasible to prevent loss, like something called the hard hat, like just became established. Let's just use that, or a safety harness. And two, there was a cultural shift where we decided that it didn't have to be inherently unsafe anymore. Like we weren't going to tolerate it being unsafe. So not only was it financially more feasible for it to be, well, maybe it wasn't. Maybe you didn't have budget for a hard hat once upon a time. But once the culture shifted and you saw this new technology out there, we just decided like enough is enough. I'll share with you a statistic. 50% of projects, $13 trillion global economy, for construction, 50% of projects are finishing over budget or over schedule. 50%. That's a shitload of projects that are finishing over budget or over schedule. What does that mean in my world? That means that 50% of the time, someone, contractor or subcontractor, the owner, an architect, engineer, insurance carrier, someone or multiple people who signed up for that project and we're all excited to build it, 50% of the time, they're going to have to pay more than they thought they were when they signed up. And it's only correlated to two things and two things only. And it's going to be so obvious when I say we're called contractors, for crying out loud. The only correlation is, what does the contract say? Because that's the law of the project. And how was that contract administered? That's it. And 50% of the time, someone has to pay more than they thought they would when they signed up. Can you imagine if we said that 50% of the time someone steps on a job site, they're going to get hurt? Like, it's enough already. We can do something about this. We don't have to accept fee erosion for stupid contract errors anymore. We don't have to accept being one of those unlucky 50% who have to pay because they didn't administer the contract the right way or because they didn't negotiate the contract the right way. It just doesn't have to be the case anymore. And you talk about, like, in the face of that, so then what are we going to do about it? Like, if you're listening to this, it's clearly because you were either interested in Ron's super hot intro or because maybe the subject matter, what we're talking about, interests you. So what the hell are you going to do about it? Are you okay with just going back and saying, yeah, people get hurt, shit happens, it's a tough industry? Or can we do something about it? I know we can do something about it because, frankly, a bunch of your peers are doing something about it right now. But if you want to know what a championship or mentality is, or being a champion means to me, it's actually doing something about it. And my problem is just one problem. There's a lot of problems our industry has. But we don't have to accept the status quo anymore because there's enough here, enough technology here, enough best practices here that exists that we can be better as an industry. We can be safer as an industry. And just like we took this approach with safety, we can take this approach with other problems and we can make our industry better, safer, and more profitable.
Amen. Hey, I mean, you're preaching it. I love it. On that, I want to dive into that statistic because this is your word. You live in this word with the documents, and that 50%, is that mostly on the front end negotiations, or is that on the back end of actually being able to implement the contracts? What do you guys see?
I think it's both. I actually would argue that the back end is where all the bad stuff is, really. Not all of it, but a lot of the bad stuff. The front end is like think about this. Doing the front end, and this is Document Crunch's product. Helping you negotiate a fair contract is like putting fireproofing in, right? If something really bad happens, you want to make sure that you have some protection so it doesn't burn down your whole building. That's like fireproofing or fire rating walls. So that's what the front end is. And so that is really important. But what we're really focused on now, Ron, is putting in fire extinguishers. Because when little things inevitably arise, you just want to make sure that you can put those fires out quickly. And I think that's where our industry gets in a lot of trouble. The teams don't necessarily know what to do, and therefore they're not equipped to put out these little fires, which turn into something much bigger at the project level. And so I would say that the lack of fire extinguishers is what's really driving the bad outcomes for our industry. I don't have like full hard evidence on this, but I do have 10 plus years of litigating billions of dollars of projects and claims. And I know like a lot of this stuff was preventable, and much of it's not just because the contract was bad. It doesn't matter whether the contract is good or bad or was negotiated or not. It matters if that the team understands this and calls the right plays. And so we're very interested in putting fire extinguishers in the job trailer to help you keep fires under control.
Yeah, no, I can definitely see that where people understanding exactly what's in the contract, what's expected, what's not, what like that stuff gets lost in translation, especially as it moves through the layers of leadership on a job site. And I know exactly what you mean is you can't put no hard statistics behind it, but you've been around it long enough and you understand exactly what's going on. So you can put two and two together. And that's awesome, man. I love that. I love the fire extinguishers because I always tell people you need to be running around with buckets of water, not buckets of gasoline. Like that is what we have to do here. And by working that stuff in is you're preemptively giving somebody the ability to be able to put out a fire before it even happens. And to me, I love that.
Well, I'll get you even more excited. I won't get too deep into this because this is more of our future state. Like we're already selling the fire protection. We're already selling the fire extinguishers. But the future state of what we're doing is actually putting in smoke detectors so that we can actually literally put out fires before they actually start by alerting you very proactively using AI before something gets off the rails. So yeah, that's like the longer term vision. And yeah, I mean, again, imagine fireproofing, fire extinguishers, smoke detectors. You'll be pretty well protected in the long run.
I love it. So what, for everybody out there listening, is there a market that Document Crunch is built for, or is this for anybody that has a construction business? And what's that look like?
Yeah, we really are being used by some of the biggest contractors in the world, and then some small contractors. We're also used by material suppliers, by architects and engineers, by some developers, by some insurance carriers and sureties. But I would say our core market is really general contractors and trade partners or subcontractors. And the use case is the following. If you need to understand a contract before you bid it or sign it, like our core product, the first product we ever is perfect for you. We are super efficient in helping you understand risks and contracts. And now we've essentially automated much of that work so that imagine in a couple minutes, we'll break down a contract for all the risks before you bid it or before you sign it. On the other hand, if you have teams that have execution risk around a contract or a project, and it's not just the construction contract, but any of the contract documents, specifications, payment applications, lien waivers, notices, you name it, we're also for you because we're now, one, educating the team at project kickoff on what all those critical administrative issues are. Two, we're an instantaneous angel over their shoulder as they go through these different workflows so that, whoops, balloons are coming up in the Zoom here. Sorry, that's cool. That was magical, like I'm talking about us being an angel. But imagine that we follow the teams around now and say, hey, like, whatever you need, you're walking the job site and you need to understand what the size rebar that was specified in your contract, like before they pour concrete, we can tell you that. If you're sitting in the trailer and the general contractor owner is yelling at you about allowable markup or use of change order funds, you can quickly understand that to just give you like a little bit of contract intelligence like throughout the job, because nobody is saying, time out. Let me go call my lawyer and have them write a legal research memorandum. So let's put this OAC meeting on hold for 3 hours, or don't pour the concrete in 20 minutes, right? And so that's not happening. So giving that dynamic guidance during the course of construction is super important. And then finally, we are now starting to automate jobs to be done that we know are risky for project teams. So I would say that the full expression of our platform is, yes, before you sign a contract, you should be using us to help you understand what you're signing up for. And yes, during the course of construction, you should be using us essentially so that you've got fire extinguishers that your team has at any moment so that they can make good decisions in all of those dynamic situations where no one's supervising it anyway.
Yeah, no, what you're talking about, I mean, that's reality in construction. It's why it's so important that these solutions come from somebody that understands the ebb and flow and what the construction industry looks like. Because your typical person out in Silicon Valley isn't going to understand exactly what you were just talking about, but that's what matters to the construction industry, because no one is saying time out. Projects have to continue on, and we need the technology has to work with those projects.
And this goes back to what I was saying at the beginning. This is why, like, if I could give some advice to folks out there that are thinking about adopting software or AI, you should be asking what right the company has to solve the problem that you're solving for. And 2-3 years ago, I would have said, well, the right that we have is I understand this. But what I've realized is so important is it's not just that I understand this, it's that I've built a team of people around me that also understand this, because I don't build products for our company. And so our engineering leaders understand this. Our salespeople understand this. Our account management function understands this. And so you should be, that's a secret procurement tip that I've recently realized. Like, it takes a village to build a great product and a great company. And in this case, you should be asking what right we have. Like, if tomorrow I spun up some, safety best practices solution, I would argue that I don't really have a right to do that. And my team doesn't necessarily have a right to do that. I mean, it probably would be a good business, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to build a great product experience around it, because I don't deeply understand that. But contract risk and contract document risk and compliance and helping companies achieve the 5 best practices that I kind of just outlined, which is 1, understand the contract before you bid it. 2, make sure you negotiate the contract well before you sign it. 3, you better damn well arm the project team with an understanding and education before you kick off the job. 4, you should make it super easy for the project team to understand the contract during construction. And 5, you should automate the workflows that the project team, left to their own devices, makes common mistakes on that cost you liability. Those are the 5 best practices. I feel really good about Document Crunch's right to solve that problem for the construction industry, because we live, sleep, eat, breathe that problem.
Awesome, man. Well, I love it. I love everything that you said. You're definitely a guy out there, a champion for the construction industry. And yeah, for all the construction champions out there listening, if they wanted to connect with you, learn more about Document Crunch, where's the best places for them to do that?
Yeah, so don't Google Captain Crunch, because though a lot of people call me that nickname, you'll get the cereal guy if you Google Captain Crunch. So you can find me. You can find me on LinkedIn, Josh Levy, Document Crunch. We're very active on social media, or you can go to documentcrunch.com. Either way, please reach out. I mean, look, yes, we're using technology, but we're really here to be a steward and a stakeholder in the discussion around contract compliance and best practices and risk. And we want to help. So yeah, you can reach out directly to me, or you can reach out to any of the crunchers or a great team. And we're here to help. We're here to be a partner in solving this problem for our industry.
Awesome. And thank you for taking the time and being on the podcast today.
Absolutely.
All right, champions, another episode in the book where, Josh, he's a man of the industry here. Like, I loved it. I know I say it a lot. We bring on amazing guests that have a heart for the construction industry, that want to see the industry as a whole do better. It's one of the reasons I started this damn podcast, was because I felt like I had a network and an audience that we could bring the absolute best and put it forward to help drive change in the industry. That's what it's about, is when he was talking about not being quiet, what is going to be that defining moment for you where you stop being quiet, where you start to step out there and do what's best for not just yourself, but the construction industry as a whole? We have so many great leaders in this industry. The best businessmen I have ever met own construction companies. But a lot of them just sit back and enjoy their life and don't necessarily push the limits on what is possible from a partnership, from a community perspective, from collaboration. I said it on episode 0, and I'll say it on episode whatever this is, 170 something, is collaboration is what will move the construction industry forward and change the overall mindset around it. If you're not willing to step up, give your feedback, be a leader, and accept that you're not just a leader at your organization, you're a leader for the entire industry, and be at the forefront of that in your community, statewide, nationally, whatever that looks like for you. It's time we start to take this industry and change like that mindset. I can feel it shifting. There's guys like Josh come on here and they get me even more fired up than I already am about the construction industry and what the future is. So look in the mirror tonight and ask yourself, what is going to be my defining moment where I finally just step into the leadership role in this industry and I just go out there? And I'm not saying to go start some coaching business or something like that, like everybody else has went and done. Figure out what it is for you that allows you to be a leader in the construction industry and just start doing it. So Construction Champions, make sure you go out and check out all of our great sponsors. And until next time, be the champion that you're meant to be.
Tired of losing track of promising leads? Struggling to convert inquiries into contracts? Build 12 is your solution. Over 30 years of industry expertise tailored for contractors ensures seamless lead management and nurturing. Boost your closing rate with ease. Experience the efficiency today. Download Build 12 and supercharge your business growth. Don't wait, act now.
Unlock the potential of property intelligence with HomeTrack. In seconds, generate over 250 data points from a single address using advanced imaging and public data. Streamline property assessments efficiently, saving both time and resources. Enhance your decision-making today. Experience the future of property insights. Engage with HomeTrack now.